Hey everybody, Spider-Man Ross here, back in the spider's web. I'd like to thank everybody who subscribed to this channel since I not only did the room tour video, but also since Comic Drape did the video of Can You Live Entirely Off of Spider-Man merch. He was nice enough to give me a shout out for helping him in that one. I'd like to thank everybody who left comments on the room tour video. I didn't get notification from YouTube that all those comments were there, so it took me a few months in some cases, but I did hopefully get back to everybody. If not, I apologize. I do love to connect with other Spider-Man fans. I don't do this for money. I do this because I love Spider-Man and I love to connect with other fans and talk about Spider-Man. One of the things that came up a number of times in the room tour video comments was, could you show us the statues a little bit more in depth? So I thought what I'd do this time is just run through all the statues that I have. And if you have something you want to see in more detail, by all means you can send me a note and I will try to get to it at some point. But I thought I'd just run through all the statues I have because it did come up a number of times. And like I say, let me know what you think. Let me know if there's something you want to see in specifics. I won't be able to tell you exactly what these are out of or what year they came out of at the moment because I can't remember all of that. There's a lot of statues here, but if you want specific information on a statue, I will get it for you. I do have it. So we'll start with this. The one on the left is a Spider-Man Kotobukiya. Beautiful piece. Him jumping over the chimney with the arcing web from his hand through wrapped around the chimney. It's very cool. We've got a Spider-Man bust from the movie. And then we've also got this very nice 10th scale piece with Spider-Man webbing on the light post, which is kind of a neat little piece. And further to that, we've got this on the right is a Kotobukiya. That's actually a vinyl model that you have to put together. It is based off the first movie with Tobey Maguire. Very nice piece. We've got this very nice little statue on the rooftop, which is from Amazing Spider-Man 2, if I'm not mistaken. And then back here, we've got this bust. I believe that it may be a Bowen, but anyway, with the big web features, kind of a neat little piece, a different kind of a take on Spider-Man. These two busts at the front, they are obviously the same. It's just the masked version and the unmasked version, and this went with Amazing Spider-Man number 40, where Green Goblin unmasks Peter. There is a matching Green Goblin that goes with this as well that is looks very similar. This is, I believe, a sideshow piece in the back of him, Spider-Man hopping over the mailbox or the newspaper box. There's some neat little detail on this. There is the light post. There is his camera attached to the light post. And if you look at the newspaper in the newspaper box, it's actually a Daily Bugle. And the headline reads, Spider-Man, Hero or Menace, which is actually really neat. So that's a really neat looking piece. They also did a black costume version of this. Down here we have the Alex Ross. That is the life-size one and the mini that went with it. Alex Ross does amazing work. So those are great pieces. We've got the Spider-Man head circle bookends, and then this Spider-Man bust coming out of the sand battle with Sandman kind of a thing happening down here. In this end, we've got on the left from Civil War, we've got battle damage sort of Spider-Man with a very torn up costume in the mess of Civil War. This piece is from the video game. It's a PVC from Diamond Select. That's one of the newer pieces in these cabinets. I do kind of have a liking for the video game costume. I think it's kind of cool with the white accents. That obviously is a very nice bust piece. And then the statue in the back is a larger size, and it was a battle with Goblin. You've got the battle damaged glider that Spidey is standing on after having defeated the Goblin. Next we have the Spider-Man bust on the right hand side. I did the one in the middle is the Spider-Man sideshow piece that I did a video on earlier. Very nice piece. This one on the left is quite hilarious. It's a dagger, and it is a live, real metal dagger that you can pull out. That is the only non-licensed Marvel piece that I have in these cases, and it's just so ridiculous that I couldn't help but buy it. These three are all from the Spider-Man 3 movie featuring Tobey Maguire. We've got the hero head bust on the right and the bust on the left, as well as the full-on statue in the middle. Again, all from Spider-Man 3. For some older Bowen pieces, we've got the two full statues, the one with the water tower and the one with the corner of the building. Those are older Bowen pieces, but I love Bowen pieces. They are my favorite. I think they're amazing. They hold up over time. Now you've got this nice little bust in the middle. So as far as this goes, the one in the middle at the front is a Spider-Man Marvel Collectors Club exclusive. It was only available through the Collectors Club at the time. I think it was from 2003 actually. It's actually a really nice piece with him crouching down on the Spider-Man nameplate. The one there is a Bowen bust from the arc of the 6-arm Spidey, when Spidey grew the 6 arms. I believe that was the one to do with Morbius. It was like 101, Amazing 101 in the comics. We've got a full-size statue with Spider-Man over top of the building chimney. And then this is the clock tower one with Spider-Man on the face of the old clock on the old building, which is kind of a nice piece. Moving down, we've got a Spider-Man bust. That was an exclusive from Sideshow, and it's exclusive because it came with the Spider-Man nameplate, which is an extra piece that wasn't on the original, or on the regular version, my apologies. And then we've got this on top of the building, and there's two versions of this, a masked and an unmasked. And that was on the cover of, I forget which comic book it was, but he's in the pouring rain. Then we've got, this is the original piece that I bought. It is one of the oldest ones that I have, and it was one of the first Spider-Man statues. That's actually a piece of wood, and the statue up top is separate. And that's what started it for me, was that piece. We've got some Bowen statues, the full size and the mini, as well as this full size Marvel one at the front. And then that is an Avengers piece. And you could buy a full line of Avengers ones that matched that and put a whole Avengers diorama together. That looked really neat when you did the whole thing. And this was obviously the Spider-Man A portion of that. Down here we've got, that's from, in the back on the right hand side is from The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. That's the original costume that he had. It's just a bust of that. And then we've got two of the big snow globes. The one on the right, obviously with the Spider-Man base, and looks very much like the cover of Amazing Spider-Man 33. And when you turn it on, the water runs like a waterfall over him, as bringing that cover to life. It's actually a pretty neat piece. The snow globe in the back is a beautiful piece. It's very much got the gargoyles in the building. When you turn it on, it's got a red light and spiders that fly around. You know what, I'll do a video on that somewhere down the road showing it moving. It's a really nice piece. Also, the gargoyles on the corner are Goblin, Hobgoblin, Lizard, and Venom, and it's awesome detail. This little statue in the corner is actually from Corgi. Some of you may remember Corgi's doing a lot of cars, like Hot Wheels type cars, but they did this little statue. It's actually pretty heavy because it's actually a metal statue. Very nice little piece. Into some of the bigger stuff that I have, the statue on the right is actually from Atticus, Spirits of the Earth Spider-Man, with him on top of this sort of earthy old sort of ruins castle of a base. And we've got some of the other sideshow pieces. This is the modern version with a lot of his Spider-Man's villains stuff underneath the wall. We've got a spear from Craven, got a Doc Ock arm, a pumpkin bomb, that kind of thing, with this sort of modern looking Spider-Man over top. That's just a little Bowen bust. And then the large sideshow premium format of him on the wall, which is a really, really nice piece. And that leads into the other Bowens here. There's two of them. One is a modern one is more of a classic version, as well as this funny little statue at the front. And then this was also a Humberto Ramos version put out by Atticus a number of years ago, and it comes from the comics, and it's Spider-Man hanging on this church tower, which is actually a really nice piece. And then these are some of my Atticus pieces. Atticus had a license for the European market in the late 90s, around 97, 98. And we've got two of the busts, the Scarlet Spider, the regular Spider, then the Spider-Man hopping over the gargoyle, and there was a black costume version of that. There's the Spider-Man on the corner of the building, and then there's this great one of Spider-Man looking from the outside of an apartment window, which was one of the, after that original one that I bought with the wooden plate, this is probably the next statue that I bought, because I thought it was super cool, because it had Spider-Man upside down for one, and it had all the details of the building on the inside and on the outside, and him looking in. And I just thought that was so great. Now we've got some of the Venom stuff. So different versions of Venom. Also, this is from the Amazing Spider-Man 316, the McFarlane cover with Venom over top of Spider-Man. This one is actually really cool. It's got a light up base. There's a version of Carnage. And then other ones, if I'm not mistaken, this one down here is also a Kotobukiya piece, sort of the with the funky building in the background and Venom and Spider-Man fighting, which is a really cool looking statue. And then down here we've got these three busts. The Venom, the black costume, and the Spider-Man were Bowens. They came in a 3-pack together, and that's the three of them out of the box. And then this came from Spider-Man 3, the battle between Spider-Man and Venom at the end of the film. Maybe not the best of Spider-Man movies, but that is a really, really, really cool looking statue, and a great battle between the two of them. So then we've got some other Goblin. This is my Goblin display unit. So this is the Sideshow Premium Format Goblin. Very cool piece. Very detailed glider all the way through the bag, and the pumpkin bomb in his hand, and the crazy Goblin face. He's got that crazy look in his eye. Very big, very cool piece. Into some of the other Goblin items. We've got a Bowen Hobgoblin, from the Amazing Spider-Man movies, this representation of the Goblin from that. There's a Bowen Demo Goblin, for those who remember Demo Goblin from the comics. And then from the first movie, it's this battle diorama between Green Goblin and Spider-Man, and then some of the busts, sort of a very cool piece in the back, an original Bowen in the front from the first Spider-Man movie. On the right is the more metal costume of the Green Goblin in the movie, and then more of a classic bust in the back, and then excuse me, from the Tobey Maguire films, this representation of the Goblin. Then we move on to the Lizard, my favorite villain of all time, the Bowen full size, the Bowen mini bust, and then just some other pieces that I have. The more realistic looking Rogues Gallery Lizard bust, and then the Lizard versus Spider-Man piece. I forget offhand who put that out, but they did a number of those, Lizard versus Spider-Man. There was a Doc Ock, there was a few of them. And we move down and we've got the full-size Bowen Electro and the bust that goes with it, the Shocker bust from Bowen, the Doc Ock bust from Bowen, the Lizard from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and this sort of Ultimate Spider-Man versus Doc Ock with all the tentacles, which is a pretty neat looking piece. This is the rest of the Rogues Gallery, of course. We've got Kraven the Hunter as a Bowen and the bust. Obviously Kingpin, Scorpion, Morbius, and from the Spider-Man 3 film, that is Sandman. And then, again, from the Rogues Gallery series, that is that version of Sandman. We've got the Rhino. We've got Sandman bust from the third movie, the Bowen Mysterio bust. And then we've got this massive sideshow diorama, which is Spider-Man from the Spider-Man 3 movie, Spider-Man versus Venom and Sandman. So that leads us to the bust that you see here. We've got a couple of other busts, Spider-Man, and then from the newer comics with the new costume from the Ultimate Universe, or from a different universe one, is the bust on the bottom. And then we've got a premium format Spider-Man statue, which is a great piece and matches the Green Goblin in the other case. And then we move on to this Spider-Man statue over the gray statue spraying a web. This obviously is from Homecoming with the homemade costume. And there's a Spider-Man 3 bust there with him hanging off the wall and about to spray a web. And then we've got, again, that's the Amazing Spider-Man 2, I believe, in the back. And then just a couple other pieces in the front here. Some very neat stuff. I believe that's the Amazing Spider-Man from the first movie in the back. And then these other pieces here. The other stuff that I have, we've got an Amazing Fantasy 15 representation. It's a 3D statue book. Really nice, and of course I don't have an Amazing Fantasy 15. So this is as close as I can get. It comes with this great booklet that talks about the comic and about Peter and Spider-Man. These little pieces on the left were Comic-Con exclusive pieces, numbered generally out of 1,000. I love the one on the left because it's old school and it reminds me of the cartoon in the early comic books of Peter and Spider-Man. That was a Bowen bust, as you can see, Peter and Spider-Man. And this was a line that they did of one point called Origins, and there was a Hulk and a number of the Marvel characters had origin statues, and it just shows how they became the hero they are with the picture of the hero over top of them. And it is one of my favorite pieces. It's certainly not the most valuable. It's certainly not the biggest or anything, but it's just the origin of the character, which is important to me. So we've got now some more of these pieces. This is the Spider-Man hanging down from the lamppost. That lamppost does turn on, which is a nice feature. And this Spider-Man Mary Jane over top of the city of New York. And into the premium format at the bottom, which is a big, beautiful piece, very heavy. This is the exclusive version with the camera. This is a phenomenal piece. It has the blue part of the costume is actual cloth. It's a really neat, really detailed piece, and just another little bust version on the bottom there. And this last case I call my Women of Spider-Man case for obvious reasons. We've got I do have a soft spot for Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, simply because when I used to watch the Spider-Man cartoon as a kid, they used to play Spider-Man cartoon and Spider-Woman cartoon back to back. So I saw a lot of those cartoons as a kid. So I do have a soft spot for Jessica Drew. So that is the Jessica Drew sideshow statue at the back, and a little Hot Wheels-ish car back there with her on it. That's the J. Scott Campbell Mary Jane, for those who are J. Scott Campbell fans. Now these two at the front are older. They're from 2003, I believe. And they were called The Loves of Peter Parker. And there was the two released at the same time, the Gwen Stacy on the left and the Mary Jane on the right. As you can see by the quality, like the quality then wasn't is what it is now. And you can see that in these statues, but they're classic pieces to me. So I love them just as much as I love everything else. And then we've got the Black Cat. That is a full-size Black Cat statue at the back, and the J. Scott Campbell on the right. The Bowen bust at the front, along with a Diamond Select PVC figure here at the front, which is kind of a nice piece. And then to go along with the Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, we've got this full-size Black Cat at the bottom. Very nice, very detailed piece. And again, just some other small, there's a Bowen bust of the Black Cat, and then a couple of busts again of Spider-Woman, one at the front and one at the back. And then for those who remember Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, this is a representation of Firestar. And for those who remember the cartoon in the early 80s, Iceman, Firestar, Spider-Man, they were Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. That was one of my favorite cartoons as a kid. So the big stuff up top, of course, that doesn't fit in these. And again, I don't suggest you put everything in glass cases just because glass cases do break. So I'm working on replacing this with some custom shelving. But for the bigger pieces, we've got the J. Scott Campbell Gwen Stacy holding the umbrella. It's a beautiful piece. J. Scott Campbell does great work, and all the way down to the water droplets hitting the base. And those were his exclusive glasses from the last Fan Expo that I was at. We've got a full-size, again, Black Cat, and then a sideshow premium format Black Cat where she's broken into this safe to steal these gold bricks, and that statue came with this picture, or the print you see at the back there. So some of the other big pieces, that is a sideshow Hulk versus Spider-Man. That thing weighs an absolute ton. It is a heavy statue. It is the regular version. I don't have the exclusive with the working streetlight. If I win the lottery, I can tell you that one of the things I will buy is the exclusive if I can find one with the working streetlight. There was also a Grey Hulk version. There's a number of different versions of it that are very, very cool. We've got Some sideshow green goblins here next to each other. Different bases, different goblins. We've got a full-size vulture on the building here with this cool gargoyle. The nice thing about this one is it comes with two heads, this one and the older Max Gargan head, so it's kind of cool. This Spider-Man statue is a Factory X. It has him from the web off of this gargoyle. It actually is very cool. The costume looks very much like the Spider-Man movie one. Very nice piece. This is my picture of me and Stan Lee. I did get to meet him in 2014. It was a very great moment in my life and a very nervous moment in my life. I've never been so nervous in my life to meet somebody. This sideshow is a bronze exclusive out of 400. It is a super heavy piece because it is bronze. And some very cool carved detail in that. Very neat looking piece. And completely different from most of the other stuff. So that is kind of neat thing about it. We've got this full-size statue. Again, this is Spider-Man facing all of his villains. We got the Doc Ock tentacle, the Green Goblin pumpkin bomb, Venom, Scorpion tail, Sandman hand. Like, this is all the villains wrapped into one on this statue. This is a classic Bowen. He's got his camera around his neck. This is all the way down to this detailed corner building. Again, I love the old Bowen pieces. They are fantastic. Into some of the sideshow exclusive pieces, we've got the two versions of this one. There's the classic and also the modern. So two different versions. They are the same statue, but again, slightly different costumes. The blue with the darker, slightly different eyes than the slightly different bases and walls. And then this is from the bridge diorama. This is an Iron Studios 10th scale. A very neat looking Spider-Man pose on the bridge, and there was a number of these. There was a Spider-Gwen and a Goblin, or a Venom and a Carnage, and you could put them all together to make a bridge diorama. Very cool. And then some of my Atticus, again, pieces from the European license. These are just hanging off the ceiling, and there's a swinging, kicking version, there's a straight swinging version, and then there's a hanging upside down version, and they come with the metal web, which I always thought was really neat. I'm fond of those Atticus statues. So that's it. Those are all the statues that I have, except for the big four. And the Holy Trinity of four are these four here. And if any of you have seen my other videos, you'll know, you'll have seen these before. This is the exclusive. This thing's ginormous. Premium format. You can see that, I forget what this one was numbered out of, 1,000, I believe. And it's got the Oscorp name down the back, and we've got a Doc Ock tentacle, we've got a pumpkin bomb here, we've got the shattered glass, Spider-Man battling his big Doc Ock tentacle. Very cool piece, very large piece. And then we've got some of the other sideshow premiums, which include this Venom, and that has a very neat base as well. This all the way up through this base, and on his hand, very cool pose, very wicked looking piece. That matches the Carnage piece. Again, those are both exclusive versions. So the Carnage has the axe hand and a regular hand. The Venom has two heads, the tongue head and the non-tongue head, I believe. And then the most recent one, of course, was this Spider-Man sideshow fighting Doc Ock. So that is the statues that I have. Again, this is a quick rundown because I had so many questions about the statues. If there's a statue that you do want to see specifically, or you want some information on it, let me know. Like I say, I have all that information, but not off the top of my head. There's just too many statues to keep track of now. So thank you for watching. Again, you have any questions, please leave comments. You want to know information about any of the individual statues, by all means, please let me know. And again, thanks for taking the time to watch. I do appreciate it. I do try to answer every message. You have questions, let me know. You want to talk, let me know. It's always great to connect with other Spider-Man fans. So thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.